chances are, if you're going through this thing called life, at some point or another, you will find yourself going through something. And so maybe as you're listening to my voice right now, you're going through something right now. Maybe this is a season in your life where you're seeking employment and it's been a journey for you and you haven't been able to find another job. And so you're going through this experience. Or maybe for you right now, you're having some health issues, some struggles, some things you didn't anticipate. And so you're going through it. And maybe right now, as you're looking at your life, as you're thinking about some of the things, you have got hit with something that you totally did not anticipate, something that you didn't think was going to come your way, something that caught you by the blind side. And so right now you're going through it. And so you've said to yourself, you know what, Andy, I'm a pretty positive person. I understand that this is something that I have to go through. But what I'm saying to you tonight, and I want you to write this down, that you don't want to just go through it. No, you want to grow through it. Yeah, it's time to grow through this experience. And so why do I say that? And so one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is you want to grow through this experience. And so why do I say that? The reason why is because right now, if you were to just simply go through this experience, there's a possibility that you would make it out of it the same person that you are right now. That there's a possibility that you would make it through this situation, this journey, and having not learned anything. And when you don't learn the lesson, and when you don't stretch, and when you don't grow, what you'll find yourself is finding yourself back in that same situation. So what I say to you is this: don't just go through it. No, that this is your time to grow. That this is your time to stretch. This is your time to learn some things about yourself that maybe perhaps you didn't know. That this is the time right now that you've got to dig deep. This is the time right now that you begin to learn the lesson. And yes, it may be painful. Yes, you may be up at night. Yes, you may wish that this thing would just leave your life. But what I'm saying to you is that there's a possibility that there's a part of you that you don't know yet. There's a possibility that there's a part of yourself that you need to be introduced to. I remember the first time I heard this and it didn't make sense to me at that moment, but now I understand right now. And so somebody said that if who you are right now had everything and required everything that you needed out of life, then one thing is certain, one thing is guaranteed, you would already have it. If who you are right now was enough, if who you are right now could handle everything that was thrown your way, if who you are right now could get you everything that you wanted in life, you would already have it. And so there's a strong possibility that there's still something for you to learn. There's a strong possibility that there's still something for you to discover about yourself. And so we've heard it before so many times. Winston Churchill said that when you're going through hell, keep going. And so what I'm saying to you is, why would you just want to go to hell and come back and not learn something? Why would you want to go through a hell-like experience and not grow and not have a story to tell and not be able to say that I stretched, that I grew, that who I was going into this is not who I am right now? And so what I'm saying to you is, don't take the easy way out. No, don't just try to go through this thing. No. Don't just try to find the back door. Don't just say to yourself that I'm just going to allow time to go by and hope that eventually I'm going to land a job. Don't let time go by and just hope that eventually you're going to get out of debt. Don't just allow time to go by and hope that your health is going to recover. Don't just allow time to go by and hope that you're going to get past this season in your life and say to yourself that I'm just going to go through this. What I'm saying to you is, this is your time to grow. This is your time to stretch. This is your time to discover some things about yourself that maybe perhaps you didn't know. And so as I look back at my life, there's something there's something that I'm telling you. I went in thinking that, you know what, I'm going to be able to just go through this thing. I went in thinking that, you know what, that this is something that I'm going to be able to just simply endure. But what I discovered that no, that wasn't enough. What I discovered is that this was going to be an experience that I was going to have to grow through, that this was going to be an experience, something that was going to forced me to learn some things about myself that I just didn't know. And so it was a couple years ago, I was sitting at a meeting. And so there's a couple of guys who came into the meeting. They were going to give us a presentation. And so this particular meeting was specifically for people who are investors. Many of the people who are in the room were real estate investors. And so these guys got in the front of the room and they did this extraordinary presentation. And they shared with us this company that had been around now for about 9-10 years. They shared with us how this company was featured in some of the best magazines out there as one of the fastest growing companies that there is. They shared some of the testimonies of some of the people who've invested in this company who are making 10, 15, sometimes even 16% return on their investment. And so when these guys were done doing their presentation, I mean, it was just a beeline. I mean, everybody in the meeting was not just excited, but people were backing up the excitement, and people were making investments for $10,000, $20,000, $70,000, $100,000. And so I was one of those individuals that was sitting in that room. And as I was watching and sitting through this presentation, I said, you know what, man, this makes sense that this company has a proven track record. They've been in business now for over 8 years. This company has a proven track record. They've been featured in magazines as one of the fastest growing companies. This company has a proven track record. They are down in New York in an extraordinary building, and their office space is huge. And they have investors that have been investing with them, that have been investing $1 million, $2 million, $10 million. As a matter of fact, their investment portfolio is over $100 million. And so I said that this has got to be it. This is just an extraordinary opportunity. And so I decided that I was going to go ahead and participate in this investment. And so I went and I saw my banker, and we sat down, and I decided to go ahead and transfer some funds and make what I thought was a pretty, decent, significant investment of about $25,000. And so I made this transfer, and I made this investment. And so I'm really excited. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, based off of the presentation that I saw, based off of everything that they presented to myself, that this is going to be a great investment. And sure enough, after about 3 months went by, I received a statement in the mail. I remember getting the statement and looking at it, and it showed my original investment, and it showed my first return. And on that first statement, I remember just looking at it and saying, man, this is awesome. I made something like an 11% return. And I was like, man, the average bank account, you can't even get 1% return nowadays. And I said, man, 11% return. I said, you know what? The only time I've made in returns like that is through my real estate investments. I said, this is awesome. This is great. And then a little later on, I got this weird feeling, and maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. It's when you've decided to act. It's when you started moving forward on a decision, and you were excited about the decision, and you felt as if you made the right decision. And then you get to this place where now you're starting to second guess your decision. Now all of a sudden you're starting to think about your situation and say, hey, did I make the right decision? There's something in you that all of a sudden now is just not feeling right about the decision that you made to start this business. Something in you that's not feeling right about the decision that you made to partner up with somebody. There's something in you that doesn't quite feel right about the decision that you made to go ahead and take on this new venture, the decision that you made to maybe quit your job and pursue this new opportunity. It's that feeling, that thing that you feel when you've already acted, you already moved forward, and now you're going through this situation, and all of a sudden now you're starting to second guess yourself, and that feeling that I was having, it was starting to get magnified, and so my gut feeling was saying, Andy, you know what, this doesn't feel right anymore. And I couldn't quite put my hand on it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something said, Andy, it's time to get out of this investment. Something said, Andy, it's time to go ahead and fill out this form to just go ahead and cancel your account and ask that they send your funds back. And so I did that. I called up the broker and I said, listen, I said, I don't know. I just want to be able to get my investment back. And they said, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yeah, I definitely want to do this. They said, well, Mr. Henriquez, you sure? I mean, you already already made 11% return. I said, listen, I'm sure. Can you please just send me the forms so I could fill out, so I could get my funds back? And so I fill out this form and I send it in, I fax it in, and sure enough, after I faxed it in, I wait a couple of weeks and I'm so excited and so happy. I actually got all my funds back. I got my original investment, including I actually got back not just my investment, but I also got back the actual return that I made on my investment. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this is, you know what, this was good. I mean, I wish I would have stayed in this investment a little longer, but I chose to get out, but it's fine because I got my money back. I got the return on my investment. And so I'm thinking everything's fine. And so maybe some of you have an idea of where this story is going to go. You know, life has a way that sometimes when you have been working on something or you've been putting in the time and the effort, that at first things appear to be going your way. At first, all of a sudden, people are coming into your business. At first, all of a sudden, you're getting the support that you need. At first, you find yourself able to start cutting down your debt. At first, you find yourself having the discipline to get up every day and go to the gym. At first, all of a sudden now, you notice that you're starting to create some momentum and things are going your way. But then all of a sudden, this thing called life kicks in. And sometimes something's going to happen that you didn't anticipate. That life is going to force you to go through something that you didn't think you were going to have to go through. And so you're saying, Andy, well, what happened, man? What happened? Well, I don't understand. You said you made the investment. You got your money back. What could have possibly gone wrong? And so here's what happened. Not too long after I got my investment back, unfortunately, come to find out that this company appeared on CNN. And when the reason why they appeared on CNN was not because of something positive. No, this company was being featured on CNN because it went down. It turned out to be a very sophisticated Ponzi scheme. One of the second largest Ponzi schemes after the Bernie Madoff case. As a matter of fact, it was a $140 million Ponzi scheme. And so because of this Ponzi scheme, that there were thousands of investors that got defrauded. And so you're saying, Andy, I don't understand. You got your money back. I still don't get it. Well, here's what happened. About a year later, I head out to my mailbox. I open up the mailbox, and the next thing you know, I see a big, thick envelope in the mailbox. And when I pull out the mailbox, I open it up, and what I see is I see documents that are talking about a lawsuit. And when I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, well, I don't understand. I said, okay, I get it. This is one of those lawsuits because, you know, sometimes when these Ponzi schemes go down or a company goes out of business, anybody who's invested can join in a class action lawsuit. So maybe they're sending me this to tell me that I can participate in a class action lawsuit, but I don't need to participate because I got my money back. And so I started flipping through this, but that's not what it said. As a matter of fact, when I looked, it said defendant Andy Henriquez. I said, defendant Andy Henriquez? What are they talking about? And so I start reading through the documents. And what I start to read, it just doesn't make sense to me. And so what I wasn't aware of is that it just so happened that this Ponzi scheme, this company filed bankruptcy. It went out of business about within 90 days of me getting my money back. And there is a law that states that when this company, such as this one, ends up going bankrupt and this company had a sophisticated lawsuit, there's a law, without me bombarding you with all the legal terms, there's a law that says that anybody who got their money back within 90 days has to give the money back. And so they're not concerned about whether or not it was originally your money that you got back. They're not concerned about how much money you actually made. What the law states is if you got your money back within the 90 days, it doesn't matter. You have to give the money back. Whoa. And so I said to myself, whoa. I said, no, this has got to be a mistake. I'm just going to call them up. I'm going to be able to show them all my documents and explain to them that, no, maybe you don't understand. I got involved with this company for no more than about 2 months. I have the wire where I show where my money went out. I got my money back. I only profited. I only made about 11% return. If you want just that return back, I could give it to you, but I can't give you back my original investment. That's my hard-earned money. That's my money. No, there's got to be mistakes. So I picked up the phone. I made a phone call. I said, no, maybe I'm sorry. Maybe you guys don't understand. This is what happened. They said, Mr. Henriquez, we understand. Mr. Henriquez, we understand. And sorry, sir, what's happening to you, it's not just happening to you. And yes, we understand that you didn't understand what was going on. We understand that you invested your money, but that's not what the law states. The law states it was within 90 days and you fall within the 90 days. So we need all of the money back. Wait a second. All of it? Yes, all of it. Wait a second. But you don't understand. Some of it is my money. All of it. Oh. And it was one of those situations. You've been in one of those before. And maybe you're going through one right now. One of those situations that you didn't anticipate. One of those situations in which out of nowhere, somebody that you've been with for years walks in and says that I don't know if I want to do this anymore. It's one of those situations where all of a sudden your things are progressing and things are looking good, and you get hit with that unexpected thing you didn't anticipate, this lawsuit, or you get hit with this foreclosure. You get hit with this thing that you just didn't anticipate. It's one of those times when you went into the doctor and you were going in for a regular checkup, and they said to you, listen, I don't know if you understand this, but we see something in your blood work. We're going to have to run some additional tests. It's one of those situations where you didn't know, you didn't anticipate, you didn't think it was coming through. It's one of those situations where you said to yourself that, no, listen, you know what? I'm gonna just try to see if I can go through this thing. And so, see, that was a mistake. I thought that was just something that I was going to be able to just go through, something that I was just going to be able to endure. But what I didn't know is that this situation was going to last 3 years. What I didn't know that this situation was going to force me to have to stretch and grow. What I didn't know was that this situation was not going to be something that I was just going to be able to think through and use my brain saying, hey, Andy, you're a problem solver. You can just go ahead and think through this. You're a communicator. You're going to be able to pick up the phone and just talk to somebody and explain to them. I thought it was just something that I was going to be able to go through. But here's what I discovered. No, that this would be a 3-year journey of something that I had to grow through. And so here's what I say to you. There's something right now that you're dealing with, something that you're facing, something that you've told yourself, that you've resolved within your mind, and you've convinced yourself that you're just going to be able to go through this thing. You're saying that, you know what, I'm just going to go through this period of unemployment, and I'm going to just keep submitting my resume, and eventually I'm going to get a job. I'm just going to go through this turmoil that's going on in my actual marriage right now. I'm just going to go through this period. Eventually it will go away. That somewhere you've told yourself that I'm just going to go through this season right now where my business is not growing. You're saying to yourself, I'm just going to go through this season right now in my life in which I know that something inside of me is saying that there's got to be more. But what I'm saying to you is this: you'll be doing yourself a disservice to believe that you can just go through this thing. Why? Because you need to grow through it. Yeah. It would be a tragedy if you came out of this situation the same person that you are when you went in. It would be devastating if you didn't grow, if you didn't learn and discover some things about yourself, if you didn't evaluate the situation and grow and understand that maybe perhaps you can't just put your future, your destiny in somebody else's hands. And so maybe perhaps that's what you learn from being laid off, that there's no such thing as this quote unquote job security. Maybe you grow and you understand that, hey, maybe perhaps you should not have put all your eggs in one basket. Maybe you grow and you learn and you understand that maybe perhaps you shouldn't have overextended yourself and be purchasing things that you can't afford. Maybe perhaps it would have been a time to grow and understand that I can't neglect my relationship, that I've got to take some time to continue to invest in this. I can't keep making withdrawals from something that I'm not making deposits into. I've got to invest in this marriage. I've got to invest in this actual job opportunity. I've got to actually invest in this partnership. I'm trying to make withdrawals, but I'm not investing. When you do that, what happens is you bankrupt. You can bankrupt your marriage. You can bankrupt your life. There's something that you need to grow through, something that you need to discover. And so as I went through those 3 years, I had to grow. I had to stretch. I had to learn some things that I didn't know. It required me to realize that I had to at some point turn to some people that knew a little more than me. It required me oftentimes to understand that there are some periods in your life, there's some situations in your life that there's only so much that you can do. At some point, you've got to drop down to your knees and pray and see God and say, hey, is there any way that you can help me through this situation? That I understand that I'm not just going through this thing, but can you help me to grow through this? What do I need to learn? How do I need to stretch? And all of a sudden now you realize that you need to strengthen your faith. All of a sudden you realize that you need to enhance your business skills. All of a sudden you realize that you need to increase your discipline. All of a sudden you realize that you just can't go through it. No, but you got to grow through it. And so I want you to think about this thing that you're dealing with right now. And maybe perhaps you found yourself at some point saying that no, this thing, it just isn't fair. And so one of the things that I learned as I was going through this process, not as I was just going through the process, but as I was growing through the process, that one of the lessons that I learned, and one of the things that you've got to realize and understand is this, is it's not going to be fair, that life is not fair, that it's not always going to be fair. There will be moments where you didn't anticipate it, that you've dedicated your time, your effort, your energy to this company, and they still decide to lay you off, that it's not going to be fair. There are going to be times when you do absolutely nothing wrong and you will still get sued. There are going to be times in which you've done everything that you needed to do, but unfortunately your business partner did not hold up their part of the bargain. There will be times in which you've done all the things that were necessary, that you believed that you did to keep all the ducks in a row, and yet and still something will happen. It's just a part of life. Don't get caught up with whether or not it is fair or not. When you do that, you delay the process. When you do that, you're not learning anything through the experience. When you do that, you fail to actually grow through the process. No, what you're doing is you're delaying it. And so the first thing I say to you is understand this. Stop looking for things to be fair. That's why scripture says that think it not strange when you face the fiery furnaces of this world, as if some strange thing has happened. Why? Because strange things will happen. It's called life. And the reason why they happen is because it's an opportunity to grow. The reason why they happen is because there's still some stuff in us. The reason why they happen is because there's something in us that we haven't discovered yet. That's where Martin Luther King said that the true character of a man or a woman is discovered not during times of comfort. No, it's discovered during times of controversy, during times of challenge. That's when you've discovered some things about yourself. That's when you realize that there's still something else in you. That's when you strengthen your faith. That's when you take your business skills to the next level. That's when all of a sudden now you discover that you can handle this situation. That's when all of a sudden now that not only are you able to just go through it, no, you grow through it. And so the first thing that you've got to realize is stop looking for things to be fair. It's not supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be a growing period. It's supposed to be something for you to grow through. And the next thing I would say to you is you've got to look for the lesson. Yeah. And so this situation that you're going through right now, that don't just go through it. No, when you're growing through it, you're looking for the lesson. And so what's the lesson? What's the lesson here? I know I didn't think it was fair, but there's a lesson here. What's the lesson? What do I need to learn about the fact that I got let go from this job? What do I need to learn about the fact that I grew this business and I lost my business partners? What do I need to learn about the fact that I waited all these years to act on my goals and my dreams? What do I need to learn about how I got into all this debt? What do I need to learn about how my marriage got here? What do I need to learn? I understand that Andy said, don't just go through this thing. No, grow through it. And when you decide that you're going to grow through it, what you say is, I'm going to find the lesson. Somebody once said, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. There's a lesson in there. I learned that at some point in time, oftentimes we're going to go through some experiences that are required for us to go through because we've got to strengthen our faith, that we're going to grow through some experiences that require us to learn some things about ourselves that push us and put us in front of something that we maybe have been avoiding. We're going to have to get to that place in our lives where we're going to have to step outside of our comfort zone, because it's only there that we begin to grow. It's only there that magic happens. It's only there that you take your life to the next level. And so I understand that it's not just something that I've got to go through. No, I've got to grow through this. And part of growing is finding the lesson. What's the lesson here? What do you need to learn? What is it that you haven't discovered yet? That's maybe delaying this situation that you're in. What is it that you've yet to grow through, that is not allowing you to show up the way that you need to, so that you can attract the next opportunity, so that you can go ahead and get out of this debt, so that you can finally lose this weight once and for all? Well, what is it that you need to do in order to ensure that now, instead of avoiding your purpose, avoiding your calling, that you can step into your calling? What's the lesson? What's the thing that you need to know? And once you have understood that, number one, that things aren't always going to be fair, and that you understand that some unfair things are going to happen in life. And once you understand that, hey, look, wait a second, if I'm going through this, I might as well grow through this. And part of growing is me finding the lesson. That once you find the lesson, the next thing is you've got to apply it. That this is the time right now. That when you're in the midst of this struggle, when you're in the midst of this thing that you're going through, that this is the time right now to not just find a lesson, but now you need to apply it. And so things finally started making sense to me, that even though I was going through this challenging period in my life, I understood that, wait a second, Andy, that you can't fast forward this thing. I was hoping that this was something that I was going to be able to handle with one phone call. I was hoping that it was something that I was going to be able to handle in 1 week, but 1 week went by, 1 month went by, 1 year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years before I would get to the end of this. And so what I realized was that, hey, look, there's some lessons to be learned. And what I'm saying to you is that right now there's a lesson, something that you can discover. And once you discover it, when do you apply it? Do you wait till you've made it through this? No, you apply it right now. Right now. Right now. And right now is the time to apply this discipline. This lack of discipline that caught up with you, and now this discipline that you understand that right now is the time to apply it. That this lack of faith, that this faith of yours that's being strengthened, that right now this is the time to build it. This is the time to work on it. That right now that the fact that you've been avoiding this dream, this goal that you have, and now that you understand that maybe you've been avoiding it too long, and so maybe perhaps the lesson is that if you don't move on life, eventually life will move on you. And so now maybe perhaps it's time to make a move and work on this business that you've been putting off, and work on this book that you've been putting off. When you lose, don't lose the lesson. And so we're all at one point or another, we're going to have to go through something. And what I'm saying to you is, don't do yourself a disservice of just trying to go through it. No, you've got to grow through it. And yes, Willie Jolly said that a setback is a setup for a comeback. But I need you to get this, that the reason why a setback is a setup for a comeback is because there's a time and a period in which you grow. And when do you grow? You grow during the setback. That's when you grow. That's when you learn the lesson. That's when you discover something about yourself. And it's during that growth period that you get all the things that you need in order to make the comeback. And you know, John C. Maxwell said this, that every breakdown prepares you for a breakthrough. But here's what you need to understand. It's during the breakdown that you grow. It's during the breakdown that you get the lesson. It's during the breakdown that you apply the lesson. And it's because you've done the growth, it's because you've applied what you need to apply, that you have your breakthrough. And so what I'm saying to you is, don't just go through it. No, grow through it. Yeah. Because it's the only way. It's the only way you're going to step into this thing that you've been called to do. It's the only way that you're going to become the person that you need to be. It's the only way. The only way you're going to truly show up for your life. And so if you've been trying to just skate your way through this, if you've been looking for the back door, if you've been balling up in the corner and just hoping and wishing that it's eventually going to go. And what I'm saying is, don't just go through it. No. That right now you've got to grow through this thing. You've got to grow. You've got to dig deep. You've got to discover some things about yourself that maybe perhaps you didn't know. Don't go through it. No, grow through it. Yeah. This has been Andy Henriquez reminding you to always show up for your life. Because if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, no one else will.